Yo, what it is? How y'all niggas doing today, man? How y'all niggas doing? Man, I gotta find someone who can crochet, bro. I gotta fucking hold my fucking very. Fuck it, we balled up. We balled up. Hopefully everyone's had a good day. Touch some pay. You know what I mean? Doing the things that need to be done. So shit, hold on. Shit. Let me do this one. Just get straight to it. Yo. Let's promote you. How about you eat a dick? Bet. Locked and loaded. So let's kind of just jump straight into it. So everything that I've kind of streamed so far this year has been talking about building something real, not really talking about content, the aesthetic, not looking busy, something that actually moves people from giving you a lot of attention on Instagram to actually like taking action consistently, right? So the first five streams that I've done so far this year are like random. They're like in a sequence. And if you miss the sequence, you miss the outcome. So before we talk about day six, I want to reset exactly what's been talked about on stream and why most people break it right here, right? Day one, we talked all about clarity, not inspiration, not any motivation, just clarity. Who you are, what problem you actually solve that matters, and what path makes the most money. Most people never make it past day one because clarity removes any excuses, right? If you don't know, if you have no excuse on what you're selling or who you're selling it to, you don't have an excuse on to make it fuck up. Once you're clear, you can't hide behind testing and figuring out, right? Because at the end of the day, bro, either you execute the shit or you don't, right? And then moving into day two, that was all about commitment. We turn the clarity into the offer. The offer is just a decision, right? It's you saying that this is a power I'm willing to stand by. Right. And this is either like a personal brand, whether you're selling your own for offer, you're selling a digital offer, whether that's a low ticket or high ticket personal brand, or even things of space, right? Once you decide to sell something, right? that you're making a decision whether it's you as the person or you as the Spaces brand, you're standing behind the problem that you're solving, right? And that's why most people hesitate to make it, right? Because once you commit, you can go wrong publicly, right? Like for example, bro, we just had a launch. It was a bad. So for being completely honest, right? But it's like I'm wrong in public. You know what I mean? I told you guys, hey, I'm launching a product. We launched. We didn't hit the numbers that I wanted to. I still haven't changed the rollout plan that we were looking to take because at the end of the day, I know that the offer is going to work. It's just a couple tweaks that we need to make, right? And so most people go wrong because instead of committing, they stay vague, they stay flexible, they stay safe, and being safe doesn't really fucking convert. Day three fixed the biggest lie in content, which is posting more leads to more sales. It really doesn't. Movement leads to sales. Belief leads to the movement. And what I talked about in the third stream was how to build a bridge between creating a lot of traffic, generating a lot of attention, and moving into the intent stage where they're showing intent to become a buyer for you, right? Not content to CTA, but content to belief to direction. And that's why we introduced a North Star, right? Which is just, okay, how many, if I have a CTA per 1,000 views, how many people are taking the CTA? Because views don't matter if no one else fucking moves, right? And day four was where the fourth stream was where most of money's actual losses after the attacks, after the DMs, after they clicked, after they comment, right? The fourth stream was all about how conversion isn't persuasion. It's all about momentum. It's all about breaking the belief with friction, confusion, or hesitation. And why the flow had to be simple. And that's why the direction had to be clear because confused buyers do not. Delayed buyers just disappear. Right. Day five changed everything. Right. The fifth stream, which was yesterday, where we talked about why monetization stops being emotional. We installed that under control. We went through, we built a dashboard, a ledger, the patterns, the cadence, all the rules that at least that I follow for all the offers that I work on. And so this is where we stop guessing and kind of like move the shit into like operating. But day five, where it's all about like the building of the people system and then the implementation of it, is the most dangerous part of the entire process because once you have a system, your biggest enemy is no longer ignorance, it's just being impatient. This is where a lot of people they change things too early. They make daily tweaks. They review them weekly. They scale weeks, right? And they abandon working systems because they feel slow, not because the system is broken, but because you don't know how to wait quickly. For example, one of my info clients, we were making $1,000 a day, selling a $25 um, free trial to his premium Discord. And we start running it because I was like, oh, fuck making $1,000 a day. Let's try to make, $3,000, $4,000 a day, just high ticket, right? But we had a really good system because we were getting 20 to 25, 30 people to convert from this $25 offer that we're making 30 grand a month off into the higher ticket. Patient split. Right. And so today's stream, the only purpose of it is to teach you how to wait without stalling, right? How to make adjustments without rebuilding everything from scratch, how to scale without breaking the trust that you built with your audience, and how to tell the difference between a real problem, a temporary dip, and noise that should just be ignored completely. This is a day that's going to separate the people who kind of build something once from the people who could build. Right. So that's why you see a lot of people that find success with one info client, right? They can never go and replicate that success ever again because they don't know how to fucking scale this shit. Right. Most times the shit breaks, right? Most of the time people break as freelancers, most of the time people break as agency owners, right? What's good, JC? How you doing, Phil? Most of the time people break with all this shit because they don't have a system that they can go and repeat again, right? They just have a system where it's like, okay, work once, it works with this very specific subset of human beings, but it doesn't work at scale, right? If you go and you document everything, a lot of this time with this shit, it's all repeatable. Right? Once you have a system that you can do it once, you can go repeat it once again. Now you just need the fucking inputs to implement the fucking system, right? It's kind of like that. But here's the truth, right? The systems really don't fail overnight. They fail because people panic inside of them, right? Because at the end of the day, the system's only as good as the fucking user, right? You can go give two people the same Porsche. One nigga's gonna crash. One nigga's gonna whip that bitch. You know what I mean? You're just panicking, right? A lot of people change the messaging before they kind of have a pattern that's stabilized. They change the offer before intent matures, right? They change platform before fixing links, right? And so when they come to the conclusion, maybe this doesn't work, it's not because it didn't work, but it's because they never let it run a full cycle. Right. So today's all about discipline. It's not about working harder. It's about changing one thing at a time, expecting new testing windows, filling the correct levers, and ignoring everything else. Right. Really just focusing on volume, efficiency, and leverage. That's pretty much it. It's three levers, one at a time. Right. And so today we're going to create a structure that kind of removes all the excuses. Because once you know exactly what you're looking at, exactly what to adjust, exactly what not to touch, you really can't blame an algorithm. You can't blame timing. You can't blame confusion. Either you run the system or you really just abandon it. And so today is like making sure you don't abandon it too early. And so by the end of the stream today, you should be able to answer without hesitation what signal actually matters most to you right now, which levels you should be pulling next, and what you're not changing for the next 7 days and why. If you can do that, like monetizing becomes super easy, right? It becomes super boring, stable, pretty scary. You know what I mean? So today's probably gonna be like a pretty laid back stream. We'll kind of go over what we need to do, like since we launched at Train Solo, to kind of like stabilize everything and kind of just move forward from there. Um, so yeah, let's get into So like I said, today's all going to be about like how to diagnose, adjust, and scale without breaking what works for your info product, right? And so pretty much it's just pressure testing like the monetization system, right? And so like I said, what this solves is that most people have built a system already. You know how you must figure out how to run it correctly. So what we're going to prevent today is making emotional changes, prematurely rebuilding something, false conclusions, and scale breaks. Right. And I can tell you from my personal experience, we've gone from making over $200,000 a month on offer to making less than $10,000 9 days later on that same exact offer, right? And the thing is, we were jumping to a whole bunch of false conclusions on why we weren't making money. You know what I mean? It was like, oh, the funnel didn't work. Let's rebuild this fucking funnel. You know what I mean? All right, cool. This funnel's not fucking working. All right, cool. Maybe we have the same fucking conversion rate between like we're not relationships. Maybe we need to fix this thing. We need to fix this thing. Right? I didn't know what the fuck I was looking at on why we were making money. The whole time, the trust that we had built up with this fucking info product agent went to shit. You know what I mean? Because the performance of the skill that he's teaching people, he wasn't performing. You know what I mean? Like he went on like a crazy downturn, right? And so it was like we're looking at fixing the funnels, and the thing is, the funnel isn't the issue; it's the trust, right? And so now that he's not on that cold streak anymore, and he has that trust back. They're at like 33K for the month, 40K for the month, somewhere in between there. But it's just like we're still building back up, and it's like this is all purely organic, right? And so when you run something purely organic and you have a downswell, it's really hard to get sales in. Right, especially if the main method of rear running was webinars, it's really hard to get sales in because the offer owner, the creator, he doesn't want to sell because he's not making any fucking money. So the trust that we have built, his regular persona is not being demonstrated. So now the people who not want to fall like this, that want to give him the money, don't want to give him the money because he's looking at himself, right? And so day six just kind of helps you guys jump to the right conclusion. Right. And so the full ladder, like I said earlier, was clarity, the offer, traffic into intent bridge, intent into conversion, conversion into control. And then now it's all about like pressure testing, right? And this is where you make like a really stable info business, right? Because at the end of the day, if you have an info business that makes $10,000 to $20,000 a month, that's a really good business, right? Because now you say, all right, cool, especially if you do it faceless, right? If you have a faceless page that where you can make $10,000 to $20,000 a month from your own profit, and you document the exact process that you take, theoretically, you could go run that exact same page in a different niche, and now you're at $20,000 to $40,000, right? Because at the end of the day, it's like, all right, cool. I know that this is works. I know why this shit doesn't work. I'm gonna go do the same shit and spin up a different angle, right, and push it to the same exact fucking offer. Right, that's what a lot of these pages fucking do. Right, they have a lot of fucking different meme pages, right, and they just run traffic from different pages from different fucking angles. You know what I mean? And so this is like where we're gonna show you guys like how to do that, right? Because like I said, day one, folks, three decisions, right? It's who you help, what problem you monetize, and what path makes money, right? Whether it's product, service, or affiliate. If these are unlocked, nothing downstream works, right? And so the test is like if you can't have your audience be in a mindset where it's like they immediately recognize that hey, this is for me. They feel called out, not inspired, and they say, like I said, this is me. your audience is way too broad. Right, a lot of people they're like, "Oh, I just want to help traders," but it's like, okay, cool. There's just so many subsects of traders, right? There's people who trade crypto. The advice that you give a crypto guy is going to be different than the advice you give an options trader, right? But even in crypto, the advice that you give a stock like a perps trader versus a meme coins trader versus a spot trader versus just someone who just invests in crypto, it's all different kinds of fucking advice because it's all different ways to read the markets. Like even with meme coins, right? I always tell people I'm so successful with meme coins because like I can spot a viral fucking video. Most of the time with meme coins, it's just spotting viral fucking trends, right? And that's why you see like Orange doesn't fucking, at least I don't know because I'm not in the trenches like that. Meme coins, but bro, he doesn't fucking trench anymore. Nigga, I made no fucking money. I don't want to stare at the fucking laptop screen for 30 hours a fucking day at a time figuring out these fucking trends, right? But he, even Orange, for example, he made so much money because he said, I'm gonna make a crypto group only for meme coin traders, only showing them how to go trade meme coins. He's making multi-million dollars a fucking month because his audience was fucking narrow as fuck. You know what I mean? And so day two, it just turned the clarity into a promise, who it's for, what outcome it delivers, why it works, how it's delivered, what it costs, what's the number one addiction is, right? Because offers a promise and delivers just a fucking thing, right? And so the test here is like if your offer is clear, straight look at can answer, is it for me? What do I get? What changes? What do I do next? If they can't, they won't come. Right. That's why all the conversions work down, right? Is because a lot of people say, okay, this is for me, right? I get this, right? But they're not really too clear what they get, right? And they're not really too clear what changes, right? And it's just like they know what to do next. All right, cool, I'm gonna pay. So two out of four is fucking leaking. We don't have any conversions because they don't know what they're getting and they don't know exactly if they give you the money, what's gonna fucking change. Right. And so for day three, we talked about the bridge between the offer and the traffic, right? Because it's solving a core gap, and that's between content and direction. Right. A lot of people go content to CTA, but they don't realize that the content has to build enough belief in order for you to go click that CTA. And so for us, that's where we kind of talk about like the North Star, which is like, hey, per 1,000 views, there should be a certain amount of hand raise, like people that raise their hand that inquire about what you're offering or taking action with the CTA, right? It's just making sure that the intent's there, right? So there's like a non-negotiable stack where it's recognition, diagnosis, authority, relief, and direction, right? If you skip diagnosis, you give users no action, right? You have to have people feel like, hey, this guy knows what's going on in my specific life. Whenever you're making like, this is mainly for bottom of the funnel posts, right? Or like top of the funnel posts, like what like really whatever. Like once you're able to diagnose, like, hey, like this is what you're going through, this is why you're going through it, or it's like even Ben did a really good job. Recipe to my nigga, where he had these call outs where it's like, hey, if you're a young man and you feel like you're not within a wife, just keep going and don't ever fucking quit. You know what I mean? That's where it's like, okay, cool. Like, I diagnose it. If you want to learn more, you know what I mean? Comment Webby. I'll send you a link to one life. How I changed my life. How I got out this financial way. Just some quick shit like that. Right. And so for day four, we talk about the intent to conversion. And so what happens after they kind of click onto this hey, what's good, Mason? I'm not even Nigerian, you piece of shit. um, so it's just like what a conversion really is. You just kind of think about it like at scale. All a conversion really is that you remove enough friction, you maintain momentum, and you really just made the next step feel safe, right? It's literally like I said whenever I was streaming, it's literally the same as going on a date with a girl. Um, It's literally the same thing. Because at the end of the day, if you want to go sleep with the girl, you have to have all the friction removed. You have to gain momentum from the time you meet the girl out for drinks, dinner, wherever the fuck you go. Build all the momentum, make sure the vibe's right, and then you have to make sure that she feels safe enough to go home and fuck you. Right? It's the exact same thing. So you'll get more conversions if you understand how to sleep with, right? Because it's the same DM flow. You DM, acknowledge one question, you go straight for the kill. You know what I mean? There's a guy on TikTok. He calls it Mr. Two Dribbles. You know what I mean? It's really the same thing. He messages with a girl on Hinge, right? He sends a little acknowledgement. He asks a question. We're going on a date. Boom. All right, cool. Same message of the date. Hit my line if you're good. Boom. Go from there. Simple, right? Because at the end of the day, you need to count the steps between the intent and the decision. Just like if a girl messages you on uh, Hinge or any dating apps that you guys might be dating on, there is a little period of time where you have to get shit situated, right? Because at the end of the day, it's speed, Money loves speed, women love speed. Everyone loves the speed of getting things done, right? And so if it's more than three steps, if you guys are just sitting in the DMs, conversating with these women, you know what I mean? It's pretty pointless. There's no point of sitting in the DMs messaging with a girl if you just want to get her number to take her out eventually. Just get her number as quick as possible, and then before you actually start to get to know her, have the dates figured out, scheduled out, right? It's the same thing with info, right? There's no point to being in the DMs with prospects, messaging them day in and day out, day in and day out, day in and day out. You know what I mean? If you just want to get converted, I just want your fucking money, right? I'm like, no, what the fuck you DM me? I'm gonna ask you a question. You're gonna answer that question, and boom, I'm gonna say, hey, I have a fix to your question. Make a decision. You know what I mean? And everything else from there is a waste of time. Right. And so for Dave, like yesterday, we talked about the operating system where you built the control dashboard, you built the one ledger, you showed you how to figure out the patterns, block your message, like the posting cadence, right? How you're going to attack all the objections, and then like a 30-day plan that you can use every single month. And that's really what I've seen. The difference between winning and stability is knowing that I can go back and I have all these data points. Jeremy Hayes talked about it too in the YouTube video. I have all these fucking data points. I could go back. I can make sound decisions that aren't emotional. We're just backed by data. You know what I mean? Especially now that we have AI, where it's like, hey, God, the last 30 days, here are numbers, right? We did this is what I do. So, okay, this month we did $83,000, right? Here's this dashboard. The month before we did $15,000. What changed, right? And then what should I continue on? What should I cut out? X, Y, and Z. And like, cool. Now I have an idea. It's like, okay, cool. Here's why we made fucking money. It doesn't feel so fucking random anymore. Right, because at the end of the day, if you can't answer what pattern drove results, what you're going to repeat tomorrow, what you're not going to change for 7 days, you really don't control shit. You're just randomly making money, you know what I mean, because you're just that hot. And that's why when a lot of people in their virality kind of goes organically, they're like, oh, info's so fucking dead. You know what I mean? It's like, no, organic info isn't fucking dead. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, you guys were throwing shit up in the air and you're hot. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, when you're not hot, when you're not going viral, you have a system in place where it's like, okay, cool. We're not getting as many views as possible, but we have a month where we get similar views. And when we get this amount of views, we're ecstatic, right? You know what I mean? Let's go back to what worked this month that put us from this month to this month and kind of just go back from there. You know what I mean? That's what the control really comes in. And so most people don't fail because the system's wrong. They fail because we changed it too early, we changed the wrong thing, you interpret the wrong metric, you scale weeks and you panic until they don't know what to kind of fix that. Right? Because at least for me, right, and all this shit is just based on like my own personal experience, is that changing the wrong thing and working on the wrong thing and looking at a metric the wrong way could actually fuck you. Like, you know what I mean? It can literally fuck you in the ass. You know what I mean? Because if you don't know why, like, for example, first time I ever did the story stack and I think we made like 10K in a day. I had no idea why we made that 10,000 a day. Right. So the next time when I did it and we made 20,000 a day, I actually sat down. I was like, all right, cool. We moved from 10 to 20. What's changed in this time period? Right. And then you got to sit back and be like, okay, cool. We're posting hella proof every single fucking day. Like, you know what I mean? Hella proof, no CTA or CTA for just for the woman, right? So now, whenever we just drop a checkout link, say, hey, fuck the webinar, if you want to just join, just join. Now people are in because now it's like, oh, it's free, it's free, it's free, it's free. You know what I mean? That's why we're doing it, right? Even like we want to start the checkout. We made fucking hella sales pages. We didn't need to change that shit, right? Because at the end of the day, we started making money not because because of sales pages or landing pages. No, it wasn't. That wasn't the fucking reason. It's because of the trust in the audience was fucking damn near went to zero. You know what I mean? That's why we stopped, right? And so especially when you do organic, there's only four things you really need to track: the reach, the amount of CTAs that you get, the conversions, and the revenue. Everything else is just fucking noise, right? The people who comment, right? You track the comments. All right, cool. If the comment isn't a CTA, there's no point tracking that comment. It's just engagement. Engagement doesn't fucking suck. You know what I mean? If it's not these four, I really don't care about them. You know what I mean? And so my North Star is like how many hand raises can I get per 1,000 views? It just depends on the CTA. You know what I mean? If I have the CTA that's DMs, how many DMs am I getting? If it's comment, how many comments of that keyword am I getting? If it's link clicks, how many link clicks are going to that URL whenever I check it? Right? This measures whether your content creates intent. So if your content doesn't create intent, you don't have any fucking sales. You know what I mean? I think that's where remember we watch train. So we didn't create any content that created intent. You know what I mean? And so now, as we're kind of going back to the drawing board, we have to have content that creates intent, right? Because you could go have a large audience, but if they don't have any intent to purchase from you, they won't ever buy shit from you. You know what I mean? And so the benchmarks that I kind of use, they're a little bit overboard, but they're pretty useful. Is that between 0 and 3, kind of like see like people that raise their hand over 1,000 views, it's a weak bridge, right? Between 5 and 20, it's a healthy intent, right? You know what I mean? And 20 plus per 1,000 views is the strong intent, and now the conversion is going to be the only ball that they will fix, right? And so the conversion benchmarks is 10, less than 10% is leaky, 10 to 30 is pretty normal, 30 plus is strong, right? So the conversion can be how many people buy, right? It just depends, right? You know what I mean? If it's straight to buy, it depends on, okay, what's the ticket price and how good is my messaging? How good is my marketing? You know what I mean? You should see between 10 and 30%, right? Even when we were posting just straight checkout links, that was about the conversion that we were getting. Granted, a shit ton of people click on the link, especially if you had that same link every fucking word. You know what I mean? The conversion rate is just a little skewed. Um, Yeah, read the paragraph that my notes said. Very true. Lost 30K from taking something out that I didn't think mattered. Within my funnel, didn't realize it happened until 14 days and change. Yeah, yeah, but that's the thing, bro. Like a lot of people don't realize like how important it is to have data, right? At the end of the day, like, for me, for all my clients, every time I post a story, I put it into a model. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, all right, cool. I posted this, screenshot of the story. At the end of the day, after the 24 hours is up, here are all the stats, right? Here's everyone who liked the shit. So I can go back and I can sit, right? So it's like, all right, cool. I'm building this funnel. I know this part of the funnel doesn't seem important, but I know, okay, based on the heat jar, a lot of people fuck with this specific thing. So it's like, it's pretty dope though. I fuck with it. Right. And so the revenue benchmarks, right? This is how you check stability. You want to check revenue per hand raised, right? Revenue per 1,000 views, right? If your intent is stable, but revenue swings super wild, your offer clarity or conversion flow is inconsistent, right? And so for me, sometimes I'm like, all right, cool. If I get too lazy to track revenue per 1,000 views, I'll track revenue per Instagram post. I'll do it on like a monthly basis, right? So some of our best months will make up to $6,000 per Instagram post per month, right? And it's like I recommend posting, 3 times a day, so that's 90 times. Right? You know what I mean? So like not everyone posts 90 times. You know what I mean? I think the most they will ever get is like 40 or 50, but it's still like good volume. You know what I mean? So the leak finder is like if this happens, then we're gonna do that. Is that if the reach is high and the amount of people who reach out is low, we have to fix that bridge, right? That's what we need to do with train solo, right? Was that we got a lot of reach, but the pan rating was low. That I need to fix that traffic to offer bridge, and I think it's just more explanation. You know what I mean? Because we do get conversions, you know what I mean? So it's just not enough. You know what I mean? So I just need to do a lot better. But it's like I'm not diagnosing with vibes. It's like I know exactly what I'm looking at and exactly what to go fix. You know what I mean? So I was just like, no, I said no, fix it, right? And so there's no point of adjusting shit daily, right? You need to pressure test shit into like windows where it's like 72 hours. It's like, all right, cool, this works, right? Even if you want ads, like you can't really cut an ad after like 72 hours unless that bitch is just ass. You know what I mean? So it's like for me, it's like, all right, cool. Like I'd like to do everything on 2 week periods because everything has a lag delay. If I go and implement shit tomorrow organically, it might not work tomorrow since we're not running for ads train an instant decision. So 72 hours, see if it works, and we can develop a pattern. 14 days to make a decision like how we're going to scale it. And everything else earlier is just emotion, right? Because even for me, we launched Train Solo last week, right? I know we need to fix the offer bridge, and we need to go fix the repeatability system, right? But it's like the only change that I've truly made now in the launch plan is I just made a new landing page. Yeah, it's like literally the only page. And that's with that small landing page tweak, I just made it more like visually appealing to that small landing page tweak, but none of us do more conversions. You know what I mean? So it's just like, all right, cool, that's what fucking works. So now it's like, all right, let's see how this goes 14 days after launch and see how many total sales we did. Then it's like, all right, cool. Let's start fixing this offer bridge. Let's start getting like a content plan. Let's start getting this out on from there. It's not an emotional thing. It's like, all right, I have 14 days worth of data. Here's how we're going to run it. Right. And so within the first 72 hours, all we change is the hooks, declare like the hooks, the CTA wording, and the CTA placement. Right. We don't change the offer, we don't change the audience, we don't change like the message line. 'Cause at the end of the day, we don't know if these are the issues, right? But we can say, okay, it might be a like, hooks thing, it might be a CTA thing. You know what I mean? And so after 7 days, we change the pattern, which we repeat, which I talked about in the last screen, which objection we attack, which entry point we use, right? We still don't change the audience, we still don't change the promise, we still don't change the core belief. Like I said, we launched core solo, train solo, I haven't changed shit, like I said, but the landing page, right? At the end of the day, we have the CTA as a link in the bio, right? But it's like, all right, cool. If we're gonna change it to DM, we have to go say, cool, we're gonna have to post content consistently so we have enough people that then with the DMs. You know what I mean? And so after 14 days, you kind of have to decide between scaling and refining. And so the metrics are healthy, you scale volume. If the intent's healthy, but the conversion sucks, you tie in the flow, right? Where like the conversion flow is like you're DMing these people X, Y, and Z. And if intent's weak, you fix the bridge before scaling anything else, right? And so for us, it's like, all right, cool. Once we hit the 14-day mark, I know that the intent here is weak, right? So I just need to fix this bridge before I even have to worry about scaling. And then we can get to the point where we're getting like 10, 15, 20 sales a day. You know what I mean? And so when it comes to scaling, there's only three levers: volume, which is more reps; efficiency, which is less friction; and leverage. Right? And you never want to pull two levers at once. That's how a lot of things get fucked up. Right? Especially like I say, whenever it comes to hiring, try to pull the leverage handle while you're trying to clean up efficiencies. How long? It's fucking awful. You know what I mean? So it's like, all right, cool. Now that I have all that experience, I don't want to pull one lever at once, right? And so the first lever is the volume, right? And so whenever you want to pull more volume, right, and this is where you're going to mix in, like, I'm just going to look at ads, I'm going to go look on different platforms, right? Good North Star is really helpful. You're getting between 5 to 20 people to comment per 1,000 views. Your conversion rate's at least 10%. You know what I mean? 10% of the people who sit or make a qualified action convert and your message lock is stable, right? That's when we need to pull the volume method, right? Because volume means you repeat the winners more often, not making new ideas. You know what I mean? That's when, like, even it's the same concept when you run ads, right? Whenever you scale with ads, right, you're just scaling on winners. You're not making new ideas. You say, oh, this works. If this works, this exact angle should work because it's repeat of this. You know what I mean? And so the actions, right, is that you just need to choose one of these whenever it comes to organic. One additional intent post per week. Repeat pattern A 2 times instead of 1 time, right? And that's what we talked about on day 3. And then you run 2 CTAs per day, the same CTA, just different posts, right? You don't add really the platforms, right? But once you kind of get into a motion, when you do this for 3 straight months, that's when you start adding the platform. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, it's only so much you can post on Instagram before you have view fatigue. You know what I mean? Brian Cochran talks about that a lot. It's actually a really good 10 on TikTok. I'll see if I can find it and share it. Lever two is efficiency. You want to pull it. You pull efficiency when hands are raised, but you have low conversions and you get the same repeat objections, right? Because at the end of the day, if this is the only thing that you're getting, right, you're getting the same rejection over and over and over again. And the conversions are low. It's like, all right, cool. Let me go. It is time. It is time for ads, Mason. It is time for ads. I do think with Train Solo, just because how unique it is with the offer owner, you will be an ad. You will be running ads a lot sooner than the 3 month mark. So pretty much after we stabilize organic, after a month, it's straight to ads. You know what I mean? Because he has someone in his close circle of influence that has a $2 million book funnel. That me and him are we're having a conversation to see how we can structure his book funnel for like this specific offer. We should go on from there, right? But at the end of the day, like when you're trying to be more efficient, you want to reduce friction and not add any persuasion because that's not what like people aren't. Like, they don't need more persuasion. They just need to be like more frictionless, right? It's like whenever you're trying to make sure that a girl goes back to the most efficient possible, you don't just start begging. Like, please, like, you don't start doing that, right? You have to remove all the friction and get the annular objections, like, you know what I mean, and go from there. So for the next day, it's like, all right, we had these objections last time, let me go pre-handle them and go from there, right? And so if you use DMs, the script, like, your script can be like, all right, cool, you acknowledge it, which is just like example got you. You clarify what's hardest right now, X or X. Right, it's like this is exactly what fixes this. Here's the one. These are just examples. You have to play with the copy to talk to like your offer on it, right? If you're typing paragraph and sheet leaking, right? And so if you use like a landing page, right, it must only do three things. It must restate the problem, restate the promise, and a single action. You buy, you DM, you reply. If your page is long, it's because you're nervous, it's because you're leaking. No one's gonna go through a long ass sales page. Unless they come through ads and it's a financial offer, um, you know what I mean? That's what it works. But if it's organic, you don't really need a long ass like landing page. You know what I mean? And leverage. You want to pull the leverage lever. Whenever the conversion you're studying, the volume's there, and knowing what's great, it's time, right? Because the more people you hire, the more leverage you have, the more smoothly the systems will run, right? And so the action you take here is that you save the replies for the top two rejections, right? Pin post that routes to the DM keyword, 60 seconds what this is video that you use, or a single notion or a doc that you need, bro. That's just like how do I template like how do I make everything a template? Right? I mean, how can I do the same thing over and over again and still get quality action? Right. And so the decision tree, right, is that if the hand raises is less than five, right, you fix the bridge. If it's greater than five and the conversion rate is less than 10, you fix the flow. The conversion rate is greater than 10, but it's inconsistent, you have to systemize it. And if the North Shore is more than 20 and the conversion rate that's more than 30, scale volume, that's pretty much the whole game, right? And whether you want to add just more KPIs or metrics that you have to track, but then at the end of the day, it's figuring out what your North Star is, figuring out your conversion rate, going from there. You know what I mean? Because once you have your North Star, it doesn't matter whether, like, you know what I mean? The organic North Star is not going to be the same thing as the paid North Star. You know what I mean? Because with paid, I ain't gonna lie, I need some of these niggas to sit on this webinar. You know what I mean? I need to recoup something. So you have to figure out what your North Star is and then kind of going from there and then figuring out the conversion rate and then going from there. Right. But one key thing to realize is that if you have low intent, don't touch your outfit, right? The intent isn't a pricing problem, it's just a belief problem. You have to fix the content that's being posted in the first place. If you fix the content to where people have a belief that this is an opportunity for them to go make, even if it's side hustle money, that's all that fucking matters. You know what I mean? And so there's four intent post types, right? It's diagnose, reframe, demonstrate, and prescribe, right? Where it's like prescribes the order of operations. You have to show the structure, what you believe is wrong or why it's not working. Right? And the template is so you have a quick hook, where it's like if you're running a growth operating, but you're still struggling to sign clients, the reason isn't because you're not doing enough outreach, it's because no one fucking trusts you until you become a until you have content that shows your subject matter expertise, nothing changes. Get me from the plan. Like for example, quick, right? Reframe. You have to stop blaming. Right? Stop blaming algorithms. Stop blaming algorithms. Posting more content isn't the problem. The quantity. Stop blaming algorithms. Quantity isn't the problem. Quality is. That's why you keep struggling to scale your social media plays. You need to build the system, for example, right? And with that intent, like we don't teach the steps first. We get to teach why the old way fails, why the new way works, and what the next step is, right? You have to believe first in the direction, right? And so, for example, it's like if you're still trying to run a social media marketing agency, here's why you're struggling to scale. Because everyone and their mom tries to act up, but here's why freelance brands get on works is with brands deals. You know what I mean? Like literally, that's literally it. And so if conversions are low, don't post more. Right. More traffic into a leaky system, scales disappointment, you have to fix the leak. Because you have traffic, but you're not getting them as much conversions as you want. You can go double the traffic. You're not going to double your conversions. Like, you know what I mean? It doesn't work like that if the system isn't in place. But if your system's tight, and you're getting no conversions that you want, yeah, just go double the fucking traffic. Right? And so we send the DMs, right? The conversations drop. We ask too many questions, you explain too much, you delay, you sound uncertain, and you handle objections emotionally. You just have to simplify when you're dealing with people. Just make it real super simple, right? And whenever Objection appears, you respond to lines, you confirm plus reclaim, and you can write to it next step. Right. So for example, I totally get that, man. That's why this structure is the place to structure first. Here's the link. Start with day one, you can fill it immediately. You know what I mean? Or whatever the fuck the shit is for your offer. You know what I mean? Where it's just like, hey, bro, I understand where you're coming from. Here's what you should be thinking like, and then here's your next step and go from there. And then when you stop, think about it. It's like, which I respect it. Quick question though. What's the main thing that you're unsure about? Is it the fit? Is it time? Or is it really you stay consistent? Um, and then you address like the one thing that you feel is like the biggest thing in your direct route. You know what I mean? Um, because at the end of the day, if you can't repeat results, you like you didn't capture what the hook was winning, what was winning the league, what was winning CTA, the objection pattern, right? That's why like logic comes in handy. And so for every week, what I do is I identify two patterns. I schedule them out and post next week. I cook up an objection post, and I just tighten like some of the inflow. I don't really rebuild shit. You know what I mean? It's just like, well, it's already built, it's already works. It's just like I just have to identify where the week in the forward, and I have everything where it's like, all right, cool, for me and how my brain's wired for me to go find it, how we go from there. So that's the living for today. To go to Discord, drop that. Um, so yeah, you don't want to react daily, pressure testing windows, change momentum, and just kind of just run it from there. Um, so yeah, if y'all niggas have any questions, go ahead and ask them. Um, if not, get a solid stream. So fuck with y'all niggas later. Give y'all like 30 seconds. So, we'll fuck with y'all niggas, man.